Hello everybody, today we're going to have a look at how to make an arpeggiated synth lead type of a sound. Okay, to start this off we want to do our tempo. I'm going to put my tempo to 130 or whatever tempo you want it at. Just click on it and change it to 130. We also need input from our connected MIDI keyboard controller device. Mine is the Oxygen 25 version 4. It has 8 knobs, a slider and a mod wheel and a load of buttons. And so you go to Live's Preferences, Command Comma is the shortcut. We go to the Link MIDI page, and we could do it here, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to set it up here on the input. You can see the name of my keyboard, and we need to have track so it'll track the MIDI piano keys, and remote, so it will listen to MIDI input from the knobs and sliders and the mod wheel. And that's it, we're done there, okay? So the next thing I want to do, you can pause this video if I'm going too quickly. The next thing is go to the instruments. We drag down the analog. I'm going to put it onto a track, and we hear it straight away. Now, this track is a particular type of track which I want to try and show you. It's Cara. Let me hear this Deadmau5 track, and it's a similar technique. His instrument is obviously different. But I'm going to go to the amp, and I'm going to map up the attack, release, decay, and sustain, ADSR, to my MIDI parameters. So I'll hit MIDI to my MIDI controller, and I'm going to select the attack, map it up, the decay, map it up, the sustain, map it up, skip one over to the release, and map that up. Okay. Another thing that I want mapped up is the filter and the resonance. So I'll map them up. So they're all mapped up now, ready for me to mess around with and play about with. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to set anything. But the one thing on the amp is I don't want the volume differences. So I will turn down envelope to velocity, because I want a consistent lead. I want a consistent volume. In the master section, I normally for my lead sounds change it to monophonic, but for this particular technique, I'm going to leave it at either 2 voice or 4 voice, because I want it to change from a lead to kind of a more pad-like sound. So I'm going to put it on 4. If it's too big, I'll change it to 2, and that'll thin it out a little bit. I also want to apply some LFO to the pitch of both oscillators. I tried it with the vibrato, and it didn't really give me the result that I want. But the unfortunate thing is that oscillator 1, I'll turn it on, I'll turn on 2, and I'll put the rate to a musical rate, 2 times, and I'll put them to a 16. I think that should sound, kind of interesting, I hope. And then I'll go and I'll assign the MIDI controller. You can assign one MIDI controller to control 2 parameters. So it's going to control the LFO1, and it's going to control the amount of LFO2. Now, if we look up here in the MIDI mapping section, we can see the range that this controller is going to control. It's going to go from -1 to 1, and I don't really want that. I want it to go to 0. So as when I'm all the way down the bottom of my the pot on my QWERTY keyboard, it's turned off, which is what I want. And I think 1 is it's really super intense. So maybe I'll try like 0.5 or something like that. To taste, to your own personal preferences. And so I've adjusted the range of the MIDI of what it can do. Pretty good. Okay, and that's all I'm really going to do right now. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get a MIDI effect, and I'm going to use the arpeggiator, and you can make your own. You can pick one. I'm going to pick Housier Than Thou because it's fine and it's right there, and we want to move on. And I'm going to record in or play in a couple of notes, so I'll just record them in. So we'll turn on my metronome, and I will want to F sharp, C sharp, E, and then B, and then press play, and we get a loop. Now what I have to do is I have to tidy these up, because you can see that they're not right, and they do need to be right when you're using arpeggiators. They do need to be exactly on the bar. So we just tidy them up, and we're right. And now I can start shaping the sound rather than shaping the sound on the analog device, I can shape the sound using the MIDI controller remote controls. I'm going to map one more. I may as well just map this. I have another one, so Command M, and I'll map it to the send, I think, to the send here. Yeah. And I might just change this. And there is one that I, normally I make these myself, to be honest. It's not hard once you get used to it. And I'm going to start recording it in. So here's my initial patch, okay? That's what it's going to sound like. Tight, bright, dry, basically, okay? So let's record it in and see what happens. Record. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. That's it, guys. That's all I wanted to show you. And then we've recorded that in. Actually, there's one other thing I wanted to show you. And we can hear it and we can see the modulation on it. I want to show you how you can see all of the modulation lanes that I recorded in. We can see that I recorded the modulation. There's little red dots on everything that I recorded. And so if I go here, if I select this button here, it's not available, but if you click this little link icon, then this box becomes available. And then you can choose the parameters you want to see. So I'll go frequency and I'll go plus, and then I've got another lane. And I can go resonance and I can go plus. And you can do this, you see, for them all. And so you could see all 8 of them on top of each other, the 2 LFOs. And then I suppose we'll have the attack, decay, sustain, and release. And then the last one is the send. And so you can see all of the modulation lanes on top of each other, and you can adjust them, re-edit them, or whatever, take a picture of them or a screen grab of them for your report. I hope that was of some use to you. It's a hell of a lot of fun to map up those parameters and just, go crazy. It's just a lot of fun. Record it in and just cut out the best bits. All right, guys, I hope that was of some use to you. Happy patching. I can't wait to hear your patches. Bye, guys.